So we are now learning Likkutei Torah, Vayikra, Daf Gimel, and so we are going to be finishing the Maimer Adam Ki Yakriv that began on Beis, and then we are going on to a beer of that Maimer. So what we learned in the Adam Ki Yakriv Maimer is that there is three stages in Avodah. There is the first stage, which is that we are inspired by God to just wake up. Then there's the stage where we have to take advantage of that inspiration, and we have to use that inspiration to actively change ourselves. And then there's a response by the Eibishter, which is the subsequent aliyah that we experience. So the Rebbe is going to begin by saying another example of this. The first motif was, of course, bringing karbanos, and the model of Adam Ki Yakriv that we'll discuss soon. But the end of the Adam Ki Yakriv Maimer is the Rebbe giving another example of a similar motif. So he begins by saying that Pesach and Sfiras HaOmer follow this model. Pesach begins with this Srusa D'Leila, this inspiration from the Eibishter. And this inspiration is an inspiration of the Nefesh Elokis, that the Nefesh Elokis experiences to approach and to run towards God. But the Nefesh Bahamis does not feel this inspiration. The Nefesh Bahamis is not inspired by this, and the Nefesh Bahamis is essentially left non-reactive. The Avodah is that on the very next day, the Srusa D'Leila happens the first day of Pesach. The very next day, the second day of Pesach, we have the carbon Omer, which the carbon Omer is of sa'irim, and sa'irim are animal feed traditionally. And so the Alter Rebbe says that we are immediately dealing with our animal. We're immediately dealing with we're moving from the language of the Nefesh Elokis to the language of the Nefesh Bahamis, and we're dealing with the idea of feeding, so to speak, the animal and working with the animal to refine it. So throughout Sfiras HaOmer, these 7 weeks, we're refining the 7 midas of the Nefesh Bahamis, and the whole paradigm is about the Srusa D'Leila that's in response to the initial Srusa D'Leila of Pesach. And this is al derech, the carbon that's brought in the pasuk Adam Ki Yakriv min bahema min bakar min tzayin, that is the Srusa D'Leila that's in response. And through our avodah in those 7 weeks, we then achieve Matan Torah, which is the responsive Srusa D'Leila that comes after our inspiration, and this is a revelation of the Eibishter's Chachma and his Ratzon down here on this earth, as it says V'yir Havaya al Har Sinai. It's a hamshacha lemata. It's a revelation down here, and the difference is the practical difference between being Asik and Torah before Matan Torah and being Asik and Torah after Matan Torah is about being Hamshacha Chadash, right? Because we did say before that Adam Ki Yakriv is about being Asik and Torah, and so the Rebbe is now making a distinction that one is an Ar Chadash. And with that, we finish the Maimer Adam Ki Yakriv. We're now going to begin the beer. And the beer is going to be far more technical. The Rebbe is going to lay out many different differences between these two stages and provide us with Kabbalistic context for these. So to begin, the Rebbe is going to give, over the course of the beer, several different models of distinction. And so the first model is Mesiras Nefesh, where he says there's 2 dargas in Mesiras Nefesh, and we're going to begin solely with the first model, solely with the Srusa D'Leila model, and then we're going to move on to the second model. So model 1 of Mesiras Nefesh is Hashem Echad, and this is all about the Nefesh Elokis, that the Nefesh Elokis gets lost in total bittul of getting lost in Ar Ein Sof. This is Adam Ki Yakriv, and the Adam, as we said in the Adam Ki Yakriv Maimer, the Adam is Zadat Silus. And Umikem, right, the Adam Ki Yakriv Mikem, the from you, the you is, from him is the Nefesh Elokis, that the Nefesh Elokis is responding to this inspiration, and the response of the Nefesh Elokis is to reach out and connect to the Arin Seif that is nislabish in Zah. And so the term for this being the Shtaba B'Gufa D'Malka. So the Rebbe is going to analyze the nature of Zah to qualify his statement that Zah has within it Arin Seif. So he begins with a Zayhar that says that that is based on the pasuk Ve'esav la'avodas ha'adam. So it says that this is the neshamas of tzaddikim, that this Adam which is Zah, controls the behema, which is malchus, and it eats of this, and this is Adam as it is Zah. And the Zohar continues and says that Havaya, that Arin Seif is malubish in this. So we're going to explain this by citing a few Zohars. The first one is a Zohar which says that based on the pasuk Ve'esav la'avodas Adam, that the Esav la'avodas Adam is a reference to Zah as it controls Malchus, and the Zah here being referred to as Adam is a reference to the fact that Zah receives from Arin Seif, and that Arin Seif, the kav of Arin Seif is nislabish in it, and the Zohar ends off that this is pshat Adam kiyah. We have another Zohar which says that there's a quality of Zah which is iskalia and a quality which is lo iskalia. Zah can be revealed and Zah can be not revealed. And Zah that is not revealed is atik. In other words, at its source, in the inner perspective, the inner dimension of Zah is actually Arin Seif, is actually total bittul, is a total perfect expression of God. The Galia of Atik, the Galia of Zah, the revealed aspect of Zah, is this Adam, and it is the Adam ki yakrev mikem. It's the outer aspect of Zah, which reaches and inspires the Nefesh Elokis to in this first pasuk of Kriya Shema, when a Jew says Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, the Nefesh Elokis responds to this. The Nefesh Elokis wants to be absorbed in Zah, which at its pnimius is Atik. Now, another Zohar presents this as being that there's the neshama, and the neshama, are neshmasa, and neshmasa, the neshmasa. The neshmasa is tiferes, the neshmasa is Atik, and so and yet again, the Adam is going to be tiferes, the kiyakar mikem is going to be reaching, becoming close to God, tapping into the neshmasa, the Atik that is in tiferes, and so in each of these cases, right, in all three of these Zohars, we come out with the same conclusion, that the avodah of this higher level of Mesiras Nefesh, the avodah of Adam, is that you rise up to the point that you get in touch with Arin Seif as it is itself. You get in touch with the authentic Arin Seif, not Elokus as it is a creation, or Elokus even as it is necessarily a creator, but Arin Seif. And the way that this is drawn down, what is the ki yakriv? As we said, as it says in the original Adam ki yakriv mimer, this is the asik b'Torah. The Torah is often referred to as Adam, and Torah is also called oiv. Torah is called strength, because the Torah provides the Nefesh Elokis with the strength by which to overcome the influences and the forces of the Nefesh Bahamas. Now we're going to go to the second Mesiras Nefesh. The second Mesiras Nefesh is the B'chol Nafshecha, right? Is that the Mesiras Nefesh that you're trying to produce, where you engage the Nefesh Bahamas as well. This is both Iskapia and Ishabcha, and this Mesiras Nefesh is not in Echad. It's not Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. It's Baruch Shem. The Baruch Shem recognizes the materialism. It recognizes the reality of creation. And this is the takrivu. This is the end of the pasuk. Mena behema takrivu es karbanchem. Karbanchem means that you're recognizing the behema and you want to help this behema to be used for elokus. You want to engage in the avodah b'shapla. At a Kabbalistic level, this is not Zod, this is Malchus. Malchus is this Nislavish and Bria. And and from another perspective, this is all about the Shem Ban. That the Shem Ban is the Gematria Behema. Now, the final Aliyah, because we know that there's 3 steps, right? There's the Esrus de Leila, there's the of God shining to us, which is the Echad, it's the Zah. There's the Esrus de Lasata, which is the Baruch Shem from the perspective of the Behema, is the rising up. And then there's the final Aliyah, which helps the refinement actually occur, which is coming Milmaila Lamata. So this is an Aliyah of Shem Ban. And to explain this, the Rebbe is going to use a pasuk. The pasuk says, "Matzmiach chatzer la behema ve'itzav laved adam loheti lechem in aretz." He causes grass to sprout for the animals and vegetation for the work of man to bring forth bread from the earth. So the Alter Rebbe explains that Matzmiach chatzer la behema, the grass that grows for the animal, is the hiskalos, is the absorption of the nefesh of Bahamas in Malchus, which is like the hiskalos of Malachim, which are called chatzir, which are called grass, and the Eisa Laved Adam, the vegetation that is for the service of man, is the hiskalos of the nefesh Elokis and Zah that we talked about before. So this pasuk alludes to both the nefesh Bahamas and the nefesh Elokis both finding their place in their relationship with the Eibishter. So this was the Mesiras Nefesh, right? This was the level of dedication that these 2 services require. Now we're going to talk about what the Hisplainus is. And once again, we're following the same formula. We're going to begin by explaining the first Hisplainus, the Hisplainus that comes Masad the Nefesh Elokis, Masad Milmai Lamata, and then we're going to talk about the second Hisplainus. So this first Hisplainus is a Hisplainus of Atmos on Insight. And when it's a Hisplainus about the Eibishter, it's a meditation about God, where you're recognizing that the Eibishter is in and together Alman, that the Eibishter is not limited and bound in any way to creation. And that in reality, what we say about God is Ani Havaya Leishanisi, that I haven't actually changed. Right? That in truth, I am in one with the Eibishter himself has not been affected by creation. This produces a mysterious nefesh of the nefesh Elokis that is complete. And the reason that this is possible is that the source of the nefesh Elokis is from Tehira Ilah. In other words, the source of the nefesh Elokis is from the Eibishter himself, and therefore the nefesh Elokis is very comfortable with the Hisplainus, that really nothing exists but God. The nefesh Elokis is very comfortable in that reality. And this is referred to as the Miftaches Hapanimius. This is the key to the inner chambers, because this produces an intense response and a response of wanting to be completely absorbed in our Ein Sof, and a recognition that nothing but our Ein Sof matters. That both Seviv and Mala have no consequence in our lives. This is Zada Asilus, right? This is the Adam Elyon, and this inspiration comes down to our Nefesh Elokis through Zah, and it produces a Mesiras Nefesh. The second Hisplainus is called the Miftachet HaChitzenius. It's called the outer, the key to the outer door, and this is the Hisplainus of the fact that the Eibishter made creation, that the Eibishter controls creation, and that he controls the Malachim, that he controls the sources of creation, and this is the Hisplainus of Malchus, and it's a recognition of the fact that there is creation, and then a diminution of creation in that creation is just Shemai, it's just a ziv, it's just a glimmer of him. The advantage of this isbaininus is that it produces ishapcha. It allows the nefesh of Bahamas to revert to a godly state. This is that this isbaininus is not working from a way of hispilus, a way of astonishment. It's not. And what it's addressing is the reality that what the nefesh Bahamas perceives of as significant and what it perceives of as having value is actually completely is itself insignificant, is itself only a ray and a glimmer of its source. And this gives us the ability to confront our own taivas and the taivas of the nefesh Bahamas, and to successfully defeat our enemy. And the crux of this hispainus is a hispainus in the source of the nefesh Bahamas. That we think about the fact that the nefesh Bahamas comes from the Merkava, it comes from the Pnei Hashar on the Merkava, and this is the Mina Behema Takrivu, that we are reminding the nefesh Bahamas that at its source it really is batal to Elokus. Now the pasuk says that the ruach habehema is yeredes lamata, and this is the expression of Elokus. This is the revelation of Elokus, which gives life to the world. Right, the source of the vitality of the world is called a ruach behema that descends down here, in the sense that it's that the as a shem ban, right? This ruach behema, which we mentioned before, where shem ban is in truth completely incomparable to the Creator. Right, to the Creator, who is Baal, who is beyond any semblance of Gavul, any semblance of limitation. The reality of creation is that it truly is insignificant, and therefore, when the revelation happens, when Elokus takes the form of creation and gives life to creation, this is an absolute yerida, tachlas hayerida. And there's no comparison to any other part of creation. No other part of creation can be compared to the descent and the degradation of Elokus that is the process of making creation, as opposed to when that R is kolol in the mar, when that R is absorbed and consumed within its source. When it's in that state, it's far more meaningful. It's far more. It's a far more value, and so we call this descent down into the world a ruach behema, which descends, that this elokus descends down to make creation. It takes the form of the shem ban in the sense that it has no it's a behema in the sense that it's comparable to the comparison of a human being to a behema. And therefore, the effect that this hispainus can have is the effect of mina behema takridu. It's the effect of an animal being offered up. Meaning that from this hispainus of Baruch Shem Kaveh Machal So'el Olam Va'ed, and from the brachas Birchas Kriya Shema before, where we're reminded of the source of the malachim. From this, we can reach b'chol nafshecha, because this hispainus addresses the fundamental values of the nefesh Bahamas, which are the value of materialism, the value of creation, and its own value. And we're addressing that in these hispainus, in this meditation, in a way that convinces the nefesh Bahamas to join in this journey, which is why we follow up with b'chol nafshecha. that through iskafia and dishapcha we bring the nefesh bahamis on board as well. This aliyah of the nefesh bahamis, when we manage to succeed in bringing the nefesh bahamis into the journey, this represents a tremendous aliyah of the nefesh elokis as well, because the shem ban ultimately, when it's refined, is actually higher than the shem ma that produces the nefesh elokis. Al derech eishes chayil ateres baila. So when Adam Kiyakar became a carbon Havaya, right? When in the beginning of the pasuk it says that it's a carbon to Hashem, and afterwards it says Mina Behema Mina Bakar Mina Tzayin Takribus Karban Chem, that it becomes your carbon, that ultimately you're reaching beyond the idea of a lokus as it is the creator, to the source of that elokus, which is Havaya itself. And this is Pshat, Adam Kiyakar Mikem, Karbon Havaya, and the end of the pasuk, which is Bina Behima Min Abakar Min Atzayin Takrivus Karbanchem. That the difference between the Min Havaya at the beginning of the pasuk and the Karbanchem without the Shem Havaya at the end of the pasuk is that the end of the pasuk is about reaching not just Havaya, but the source of Havaya, the makar by which Havaya is created. What we end off with is a final question, which is that the Nefesh Bahamas and the Karbanas come from the Shviras HaKelim of Tayu. The Nefesh Bahamas comes from Tayu. The Nefesh Elokis comes from Tikkun. And so the Rebbe's final question is, what is the mechanism by which the Nefesh Elokis manages to inspire and to positively affect the Nefesh Bahamis, if the Nefesh Elokis comes from a lower source? So to explain this, he cites the Zohar mentioned before, that the rest of the Zohar says Adam u'behema teshia Hashem, and the Zohar explains that there's a quality of behema in Adam, and the Zohar's proof to this, or the Zohar's explanation of this, is the pasuk Adam Kiyakar Mikem. The fact that it says Adam Kiyakar Mikem Karbon Havaya Min HaBehema is an indication and an allusion to the fact that when a man gives a carbon, there is a component by which he's giving of the that he's actually giving of the carbon, and where another Zohar points out the discrepancy and the difficulty in reading this pasuk, because the beginning of the pasuk makes it sound as though the carbon comes from man, and the end of the pasuk makes it sound as though the carbon comes from behema, and so the Alter Rebbe is using this Zohar to explain that there's a link between behema and Adam, and that is a way to explain this pasuk. So Kabbalistically, behema is shem ban, and Adam is shem ma, and but when we discuss the idea of there being a link between behema and Adam, and the interpretation of Adam Kiyakar as being from the behema, this is a reference to the fact that although that even the Nefesh Elokis, even though its main source is Adam, which is Shem Ma, nevertheless, it itself is also included in Shem Ban. Now, what this means is that even the Nefesh Elokis itself has a behema component, a ban component. Now we know that the neshamas are born from a zivug zun, from a unity of Zachar and Nekeva, and this is a unity of Shem Ma and Ban. So even at its inception, the neshama does have this quality of this dual reality of Ma and Ban, which in the context of our Mimer is Adam and Behema. So to explain these two states in Avodas Hashem, the Alter Rebbe cites the idea of malachim. it says the malachim can only understand the level of malchus, whereas the neshamas have a higher level of avodah. Now, on the one hand, the malachim can be seen as being incredibly lofty beings, but on the other hand, we have this observation that they only understand the level of malchus. And the significance of this is that the malachim's value, and the malachim's value in terms of the knowledge that they have, is specifically and singularly from the perspective of the mata. It's not from the perspective of the maila. And the legabe maila, from the spirit in the spiritual sense, their contribution is insignificant. Masha'enki in the neshamas, that the neshamas have this added avodah. And the added avodah of the neshamas is this quality of behema, of pnei aryeh, but there's the additional value that the neshamas have the value of Torah, have the ability to access Torah, and so our value is the fact that we have this dual perspective of Shema and Ban, that we also have the Torah. The Torah is the Torah which is called Adam, and the Torah which can also be a reference to wine, which we know nechnas yayin yatzasayid, because the Torah has the quality, has the ability to bring out our Abba Rabba and our Abba Mesuteres, and which coming back is the mikem mina behema. So in other words, we as neshamas have this dual reality, have the Shema and the Shemban, and this and inherent in the Adam, inherent in our Adam perspective, inherent in our Ma perspective, is the Ban, and that's what and the two together are what allow us to have this long lasting effect, to be Yachad of Avenu. And there are two perspectives on Yachad of Avenu. There's the Ru'us D'Liba B'Pnimius and Ru'us D'Liba B'Chitzenius. The Ru'us D'Liba B'Pnimius is an inspiration of Nekudas HaLev, is an Ava Rabbah that transcends all logic and all reason. And this comes Milmaila, this comes as a Matana. This is the Shema. Whereas the Ru'us D'Liba Chitzeni, the Chitzeni, right, the external or superficial, so to speak, version of being inspired, is something that is produced from our mind. It comes from our own knowledge. It comes from our own meditations of Malchuska Elamim, and this comes from Shem Ban. When we are enjoined to be miyachel l'bavenu, when we're told that we need to have both of these together, what we're being told is that we need to unite the pnimius of haratzon and the chitzenius of haratzon. We need to have both perspectives at once, and when we have both perspectives at once, this is mavar the shem ban, and it consumes this in the shema. And it ultimately is interacts with the ma and ban that are in the nefesh l'kis itself. And then this, the Alter Rebbe ends off, is referenced in many other places. There's many other ways to understand this. The other language he gives for this is the shchinti la hishchinta tata, which are the two forms of or two perspectives of the nefesh l'kis. And the end of that pasuk, which says min abakar manatzayin, this is the practical biurur, the practical refinement of the nefesh bahamis from all of its different aspects.